There's an old saying in real estate that money is made on the purchase, not on the sale. Yet, so many investors get this wrong, so it drives me up the wall when this happens. I love your 3-2, it has a lot of potential, but the roof needs to replace, your AC is 30 years old, and you have $50,000 in violations with the city. What were you asking for the property?
$1 million.
But your neighbor just sold his home for $400,000 with no issues at all.
$1 million. 1 million. $1 million. $1 million.
I'm gonna kill myself! In this video, I'm going to teach you how to not lose money by running a proper analysis and purchasing at the right price from the beginning. I'm also going to teach you how to have confidence in your analysis and your ability to walk away. Because shit gets stupid out here. I don't want y'all out here Terry Tating motherfuckers, okay?
You must be out of your mind, son!
Look, real estate is a numbers game, but sometimes you'll feel like a drug dealer after the Anti-Drug Abuse Act of 1986 because a majority of people will
just say no.
When you're first starting, all the no's will definitely play on your psyche. So I get it. When someone finally says yes and throws a ridiculous number at you, you're not even thinking about the number. You're just like,
it's a lot of money, but I'll take it.
You have to stop, take a deep breath, run your analysis of the property, and then come back with a number that makes sense, all things considered. Anish, we've talked about this a number of times. Why is this estimate bad, and how are people using it incorrectly?
So, you know, Sean, investors in general don't use Zillow. It is way off, right? This is your average Monday morning home investor has no idea what they're doing, or the homeowner. They have this great algorithm, and when they try to actually buy houses, guess what? They went out of business. So their algorithm is a little bit flawed, is an understatement.
How many people approach you every week because they're upside down on their deals?
Wow, Sean, so many people. Let me tell you, I'd say 3 out of 5 calls, they're upside down on their deal. They offered too much, or they don't even know how to do their comparables, or guess what? Their favorite realtor told me it was a great deal.
As it relates to running a proper analysis, what other tips do you have for our investors?
Yeah, Sean, you know what? When you're running these comparables, right? First of all, you have to have good software. So we use REIFax for our comparables. If you're a licensed agent, you can use the MLS or IDX. That's very valuable. But what you want to do is compare apples to apples, right? If you have a 3-bedroom house, you want to compare all the 3 bedrooms in the neighborhood. If it's 2 bathrooms, you want to compare 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms in the neighborhood. Does it have a pool? Square footage? You want to make sure it's also within a half mile, because guess what? If it's too far, it's not going to work. We use the half mile because appraisers use the half mile. Also, what's also important is 6 months, right? We want to make sure the comparables you're using, or the closed sales, have closed in the last 6 months. We are using these basic things because appraisers are using this. And appraisers are using this because when banks are financing, they want to know what's going on in the market, right? So you want to make sure apples to apples, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, pool, no pool, garage. And then, of course, if there's only 2 2s and you're looking at a 3-2, you have to add or subtract to your comparable or your price when you're doing the comparables, right? So an extra bedroom in our market may or may not be around $20,000, $25,000. A pool, $15,000 to $20,000 also, depending if you have one or not.
Okay, folks, now we're going to show you how to not lose your shorts in a deal.
Well, all right, let's go.
So when I first started investing in real estate, I made many of the same mistakes that beginner investors make. I would compare a 3-2 on the beach with a 3-2 a mile down the road next to the railroad tracks, with many other inconsistent comparisons. But it's important to make an apples to apples comparison. You must compare properties most similar to the subject property. So goes the phrase, run your comparables, because you are literally comparing 2 similar properties in hopes of determining a fair market value of the home you're interested in. Folks, this is not a fair comparison. Now, in my opinion, depending on which side of the cell you're on, this is much less science and more of an art. I'm certainly no Picasso, but like art, with practice, you'll get better over time, or maybe that's just subjective. Now, the reason it is an art is because you're trying to paint a picture with supportive data on why you feel the house should cost $1 million or $250,000 in this example. Open up any property search tool, Zillow, Realtor, or Trulia. If you are in our coaching program, you'll use ReFX. ReFX is the GOAT when it comes to lead generating tools. Not that GOAT. G-O-A-T. Greatest of all time. ReFX is a powerful tool, but we won't use that for this example since many of you watching are probably not active users, but you will be. We are running these comparables from the perspective of an investor purchasing a property. Anish will go into why it's important to distinguish this a little later. I've selected a random property in the local South Florida market, but you can do this in any city or state. The homeowner is asking for $440,000 for a 3-2, 1,700 square feet home in Fort Lauderdale. This is down the street from a very desirable neighborhood in South Florida, Wilton Manors. So on the surface, I'm really excited. From the pictures, it's not a bad house. Not really a fan of the kitchen, but it's in pretty good condition. It was built in 1953. Does not have a pool, no garage, it's not waterfront, nor is it near water. Since everyone loves lists, click the link in the description below to download the BPM RIA Assessing a Property Checklist. This is a list of comparable items you're looking for when comparing properties. So now what you're going to do is you're going to switch the option from for sale to sold and look for properties that are nearby. We're going to look within a half-mile radius and as far as 6 months back in this scenario. For the sake of saving time, I've already done it. These are the 3 properties that I selected within a half-mile radius of our target property. 2 are similar, 3 2s, and then I have the third one is a 5-2, 2,000 square foot. Now I selected the 5-2 because it will help paint the story I want. That is, you're asking for $440,000 for your 3-2 when I can get a 5-2, 2,000 square foot home for $405,000? You're asking for too much. So let's calculate the average for these 3 homes. Let's say this one was sold for $315,000 in October. So let's do that. This one was sold for $385,000 plus that. And this one was sold for $405,000. All right, let's divide that by 3. That gives us $368,333. I would put the after repair value, or ARV, at $360,000 to $370,000. The house seems to be in pretty good condition, especially as it relates to the comparable homes, but for the sake of this exercise, let's say the roof needs to be replaced. At 1,700 square feet and $10 per square foot, let's say we're looking at a $17,000 expense. Taking that into account, and because we use the 70% rule, let's see what we will offer that homeowner. We're going to times this by 0.7 and minus the $17,000 to fix the roof, and we would offer no more than $240,833. I mean, we have a little bit of wiggle room, but that's kind of the sweet spot for us right there. On a side note, if you don't know what the 70% rule is, check out this video on 3 golden rules of real estate. And that's it, folks. This should take no longer than 10 to 15 minutes to do. So now you march your little behind back to that homeowner and present your data. Look, I know you want $1 million for your home, but with all the issues and after running my analysis, the best I could do is $240,000, and I could pay cash in 14 to 30 days. Oh, and fuck this estimate. That shit is stupid. And there's something that you teach us in the coaching program, right? And it's really paying attention to the perspective of how you're running the comparables versus, so if you're the buyer or the seller. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, Sean, so I kind of joke about it, right? This is where you get to work on your multiple personalities. Meaning when you're the buyer, you're going to be very stringent on your guidelines, right? 6 months, closed sales within a half a mile. We want to also make sure there's no big highways, even if it's within a half a mile, right? So if it's in our market down here in South Florida, I-95 is a big interstate. So even if it's within a half a mile, guess what? It's not a comparable because it's different neighborhoods. But if you're a seller and we're wholesaling the properties, right? Now I put on my seller hat. It's a little bit different, right? We want to tell a different story. We're going to talk about the comparables that are further out to sell our story. It's the job of our new buyer to figure out, hey, are we really telling the truth or are we kind of fibbing it a little bit? So we might go a little bit further. We might pick a comparable with a pool, or we might pick a better neighborhood on purpose. Again, we're trying to maximize our money. And the good investors on the other side, they know we're kind of playing around. You newbies, this is where you guys get into mistakes.
Yeah, that's interesting. So what other tips do you have that will help us to make money on the purchase?
Absolutely. So Sean, the other big thing when you're actually doing these comparables, the one thing that newbies forget is you want to look at what's active for sale. Meaning right now we're in a little slight correction. You want to know what your competition is. The other thing that we always use when we're buying these properties, we want to show people what's going on in their neighborhood. How many pre-foreclosures? How many foreclosures also? Meaning if it's a foreclosure, it's already bank owned. How do we know if Chase puts 3 on the market tomorrow? Bank of America puts another 4. Those can be your competitors. So we want to show the seller what's really going on in their neighborhood and why we're offering this price. We're different from those other investors that just lowball people. We're saying, look what's new, what's coming up. We are taking these things in and we spend a lot of money for this kind of software and data to make us a confident investor.
If you've watched until the end, you'd probably want to learn how to buy a house with no money and no job. Click this video here or check out one of the following playlists that come up. Bye.